What up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy Chef. You already know what time it is. We are back for another episode of the You Already Know Pod or the YAK Pod. Now, it's episode 3. Let's talk about it. We know Ben Johnson is coming back, and we don't know what AG is going to do. And I know there's a large contingent of Lions fans who are on the Fire AG train. And I can see it. I can understand. Our defense was not great, especially in the NFC Championship game in the second half. But hold on, let me cook. In the first half, that vaunted 49ers offense, they scored a total of 7 points, while we scored 24 points. There have been multiple times this season where we've held a team to minimal points, 7 points, 10 points in the first half. And in the second half, things came a little unraveled, right? Well, again, we have to look at the players that we had. We had to look at the injuries that we had. We started off this season without the greatest of defensive positional players. And then James Houston got hurt. And then CJGJ got hurt. And then we still were able to hold it respectably, I should say. Um, Teams weren't scoring a huge amount of points on us. At one point this season, teams couldn't get over that 23-point hump. And as I've said before, when you have a defense that holds a team to 23 points and then you have an offense that's going to score 30 plus, you win the football game. All right. So that's just the stat thing about it. But at the same time, we have to understand we went to the NFC Championship and we controlled the football game. We went into their house and we controlled the football game. Everyone, even their fans, thought that the 49ers were done and the Lions were going to the Super Bowl. The only people that believed that the 49ers could win were the 49ers. All right, the players on that sideline, the coaches on that sideline, the people in that building were the only ones that thought that it was possible for them to come back. So now the expectation for us is to run it back. It may not be the expectation in the national media because the national media is running around talking about Dan Campbell. He told his players we might not make it back. They didn't even bother. I saw Speak for Yourself yesterday. They did an entire segment about Dan Campbell saying that to his players. And I'm like, are they really doing a segment off of a half quote? Like, the journalism and the national media, Lions fans, we're not ever going to get the respect until we win that Super Bowl. Right? And then they can do all that backhanded comments and all these other things that they want to say. But if you win a Super Bowl, you win a Super Bowl. So it is what it is. But the point is, many Lions fans, I think the majority of Lions fans, are expecting us to run it back. So how do you run it back? But by keeping continuity. You have to keep consistency. So now that we have Ben Johnson coming back, we want Aaron Glenn to come back. You should want Aaron Glenn to come back. Aaron Glenn's players want him to come back. Aaron Glenn's players do not want him to leave. So we need to understand that consistency is the key. You have to be consistent. So now, just like Ife Melifano said, the mental part is really over, right? He's been in this scheme, and if the scheme doesn't change, he's not thinking. I mean, other than watching film and preparing for the different opponents, that's fine, right? We have to do that all the time. But where I need to be lined up, what are my responsibilities? What do I do in this matchup? What do I do in this coverage? What do I do in this look? What do I do in these situations? I don't need to ask myself, what do I do? Right? Because if I'm on the field in dime coverage. I know what I'm doing right away in my scheme. If I'm in nickel, I know what I'm doing right away in my scheme. If I'm in base, I know what I'm doing right away. I don't need to think, right? Because my responsibilities in dime in Aaron Glenn's scheme may be different than my responsibilities in dime in Mike Vrabel or someone else's scheme, right? So now it goes like, okay, well, last year I was doing it this way. This year I'm doing it a different way. So I'm in my head. And that's what we don't need from the players. We need the players to be playing fast and free. All right. Look at players like Kirby Joseph. Okay. He's grown year by year, right? 4 interceptions first year, 4 interceptions second year. Okay. So this is the scheme that he's known since he's come into the league. What happens when we change that coach, that coordinator, and he has to learn a different scheme? All right. James Houston was learning some different things, and we don't really know what's going to happen with him. He may just go back to pass rusher. They may not like him at outside linebacker, but either way, he didn't get the opportunity to do it because he got injured in the second game and he was out for the entire season up until the NFC Championship game. All right. But these are the things that we need to have in order for us to run it back. We don't want our players thinking about what to do in this new scheme. We don't want our offensive players learning a new offense. Jared Goff learning new calls and new protections and new verbiage from a new offensive coordinator. His receivers having to do the same, the running backs having to do the same, the offensive linemen having to do the same. So that side of the ball is already solidified. We look at JMO, right? JMO, we expect big things from JMO next season. We expect JMO to be the bona fide number 2 wide receiver on the Detroit Lions. And the only reason we call him a number 2 is because, Amon-Ra St. Brown is the number 1 wide receiver on the Detroit Lions. But JMO can have a full off season without any looming suspensions, hopefully without any injuries. Unless something happens, hopefully it doesn't. But the injury, there's no risk of injury now because he's gone through an entire season without it, right? Hopefully nothing happens in the off season, but an entire off season program, OTAs, everything without the looming suspension. I know he had all of that this off season, this past off season, but he knew that after that last preseason game, he wasn't going to play. And then he injured his hamstring in the preseason and then he didn't play anyway. So the reps that he was expected to get, he didn't get all of those reps, right? So again, he's now in a comfortable situation because his offensive coordinator is coming back. So they're going to run it back. So why wouldn't we want our defenders to be in the same situation, in the same position, right? Alex Anzalone knows his scheme. Jack Campbell, rookie this year, comes back next year, second year in the same scheme, understands his responsibilities even better. He can take that leap. He can take that step forward. If we bring in someone else as a defensive coordinator, just for poops and giggles, then Jack Campbell has to come out and learn that new scheme. So now the comfort that we think that he's going to have this year, the step that we think he's going to take this next year, now there's an extra hurdle. Not saying that he's not intelligent enough to do it, and not saying that any of these players are not intelligent enough to do it, but we don't want the extra hurdle. When you're trying to get back, look at the Philadelphia Eagles. Everything was going well for them the first 10, 11 games of the season. They started off 10-1, and I'm looking at them like, something seems a bit off, right? Something seems a bit off. They were winning those games, but the way that they were winning them, it was like, I didn't believe them. They needed more people. And we saw what happened down the stretch. They lost 5 of their last 6 games. They went into Tampa Bay and got mollywopped 32-9. They didn't show up. They looked like they quit from the opening whistle, right? The opening snap, they weren't there. Okay. But they did lose both of their coordinators, right? So they had their head coach and they just unraveled. So if you're going to unravel like that eventually during the season because you don't have the continuity, any little thing can push you up. I mean, the NFL is a very difficult league. It's hard to win in the NFL. Um, you're not doing yourself any favors by not keeping the team, the squad together. So now we have the opportunity, hopefully, okay? We don't know the status of AG right now. You know, we know he's still doing interviews, and we know Washington, you know, they like him and all these other things, but let's hope that the Commanders do not hire him. Let's hope that no one else hires him. And I'm not saying, AG, bruh, you deserve your shot. Go get your shot. Cool. But for us as fans, selfishly, we should all want AG back because we need to run it back. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get right back to the NFC Championship game and this time win it. It's time win it. Go to the Super Bowl and win that thing. Bro, we went toe to toe with the number 1 seed. And not just toe to toe. We didn't go toe to toe. We were punching them in the mouth. We were the bullies in that first half. Second half, you know, things happened, right? But so we should have the mentality that there's no team in the NFC that is standing in front of us. There's no team in the NFC that can beat us. There's no team in the NFC that scares us. Who scares you in the NFC? The Cowboys? The Cowboys? I mean, do the 49ers scare you? No, because we feel like we should have beat them. Legitimately so. Do the Eagles scare you? Hell no. The Bucks beat the brakes off the Eagles. The brakes. Okay? And we beat the Bucks. Do the Rams scare you? Hell no. Does anybody scare you in the NFC? Do the Seahawks scare you? Hell to the no. To the no, no, no. Nobody scares you in the NFC. So let's keep this thing going. Let's keep everybody together. Let's let Brad cook. We know Brad gonna cook. We know Brad gonna cook in that draft. We know Brad gonna cook in free agency. We know he is. Because he's not shown us anything to make us believe otherwise. Brad Holmes cooks. When he gets in the kitchen, he cooks. That's it, man. Let's run it back. Let's freaking go. Keep everybody together. You already know what it is. Smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.